We are now in a slightly quiet section of time after all the sirens and the missiles and the war with Iran and Hezbollah and the Houthis, and they have a ceasefire which is going to end tomorrow and then tomorrow, and then we'll see what happens. They're threatening to start all over again, which makes sense. It makes sense. According to the way I read the situation, I have different sources than the newspapers. So it looks like it's going to start again. We live in a very, very exciting time period. Now, yesterday was Yom HaZikaron, Holocaust Remembrance Day. No?
Last week. Memorial.
Last week was Holocaust Remembrance Day? Last week. Last week was Holocaust Remembrance Day. And the World Jewish Congress leader, he got up and he said, never again has failed, and we should take the lesson. We have forces driving modern anti-Semitism. They're organized, well-funded, and accelerating all over the world. Anti-Semitic incidents in the United States, Canada, Europe. 2.2 billion people hold anti-Semitic views. And here we are standing in Auschwitz. This is the head of the World Jewish Congress. If we ignore the early warning signs of hatred and how it can erode and eventually break down the norms of democratic society, it can break down everything. He says, look at them in the eyes, see what was taken from them when hatred was ignored, when it was rationalized, when it allowed to grow. Here we stand in Auschwitz. Too many people saw the signs and did not act. And in another article, General Director of the Jewish People Policy Institute, is the question of whether there's a second Holocaust is plausible in the foreseeable future is not just an intellectual provocation. Cold-eyed look at today's geopolitics and social realities shows that it is a real danger. Contemporary anti-Semitism is no longer a marginal phenomenon perpetrated by a small lunatic fringe of insiders. It festers in two dangerous forms: open, brutal hatred of Jews as individuals in the diaspora communities, and a radical echo chamber calling for the destruction of the state of Israel, its elimination as a nation state of the Jewish people. Only determined action by Israel and Jews around the world can remedy this.
By doing what? By moving? By making Aliyah? Or what?
What are you supposed to do?
What's the remedy?
What's he supposed to do?
He says education and Holocaust remembrance and advocacy is part of the answer, but only the preservation of that power and the understanding that we can rely on no one but ourselves and our shared strength can ensure that history does not repeat itself. We understand down deep our security does not rest on the mercy of the nations, but on our ability to defend ourselves with our own hands. That is the secular Jewish view of how to deal with the rising anti-Semitism. It is on reached peaks that are the comparable to what happened in Nazi Germany, before Nazi Germany, in Nazi Germany, and the fear and why it's so dangerous is that Nazi Germany, it was limited to Germany. It was limited to Germany. The whole world was quiet. The whole world was passive, and they did not lift a finger to save the Jews, but the anti-Semitism was concentrated in Nazi Germany. Today, the anti-Semitism is concentrated worldwide. Worldwide. United States, England, Europe, Australia, wherever you go, Vietnam, China, everywhere, Jews are being attacked. The secular Jewish answer to this is to shout, never again! Never again! And they're making a very tremendous mistake. They're making a very, very, very big mistake. We just got finished with Chag HaPesach. What did we learn from Chag HaPesach? We had the Eser Makos, we had Yetzias Mitzrayim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed the world. He showed the Jewish people and the Mitzrayim. They didn't have internet in those days, they didn't have CNN and Fox News, so they couldn't show all the Makkos to the whole world, but they all heard, we say, the whole world heard about it, and they were petrified. What did we learn? So the Ramban, there's a very important Ramban, and he says, the Eser Makos, Kodesh Baruch Hu turned nature topsy-turvy, and he shows that he has full control over everything in nature. He can change the rules of nature at will, and that he has hashgacha pratis. He changed the Jewish people. Until then, there was the common idea of how a Kodesh Baruch Hu relates to the world was hashgacha klolis. What do I mean by general hashgacha? Hashgacha means providence. Kodesh Baruch Hu's ruling over the world, supervision over the world. So it's a general supervision, hashgacha klolis. Once in a while, a Kodesh Baruch Hu sticks his nose in, and he does miracles, or he does this action, a certain type of actions for tzaddikim. But in general, it's hashgacha klolis. Everything works according to nature. We saw at Yetzias Mitzrayim that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took Klal Yisrael out of that hashgacha klolis, and that general category of being like all the other nations, and he lifted us up, and now Klal Yisrael has a hashgacha pratis. There's a direct individual supervision over Klal Yisrael that no other nation enjoys. And on the tzaddikim, more. There's different levels. There's a general hashgacha over all Yidden, and on the tzaddikim there's this very specific, individualized hashgacha on every aspect of their lives. But as Kodesh Baruch Hu is running the world. The Ramban says, what is the lesson that we learn out? What is the lesson that we learn out from Yetzias Mitzrayim? Kavanis kol ha-mitzvahs. This is the Ramban at the end of Parshas Bo. It's a very, very, very yesodistic, important Ramban. It's Ramban with an N, not Rambam. It's a Ramban. Right? At the end of Parshas Bo. Kavanis kol ha-mitzvah shenamin be'elokeinu v'noida elov shehu baranu. We have to be moida to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and recognize Him and believe in Him. And this is the kavana of the whole creation. There's no other tam, ein tam acher in the Yetzirah Rishona, except that we should recognize a Kodesh Baruch Hu and have amuna in a Kodesh Baruch Hu. We should believe in a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Ein kel elyon chofetz betachtoina milvad sheyeda ha'odem v'yoydel elokov shaboro. That's what a Kodesh Baruch Hu wants. That is the basic purpose of creation, is that we should believe in a Kodesh Baruch Hu. We saw Nisam Gedolim. We saw Nisam. He did Nisam that he never repeated. He never repeated these Nisam. He totally changed the laws of nature. These were Nisam Gedolim Hamufursamim From these nisim gedolim umufursamim adam moedim nisim nistarim. The whole human life is nisim nistarim. Everything that happens is providence. We think it's nature. We think it's accident. It's just that's the way it is. It's not. Everything that happens is a direct supervision from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. These are nisim nistarim. Hem Yesoid HaTorah Kula. And then he makes a very amazing statement. Ein la'odem chelik b'toiris Moshe Rabbeinu ad shenamin b'kol devorenu. We have to believe everything I just said. And everything that happens to us. Everything that happens to us is kulam nisim. There's no teva. There's no minig shaloilam. We think there's laws of nature. There's no laws of nature. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, laws of nature are a tool in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hands to supervise the world. That's all. And he's constantly adjusting it according to his plan. So for them to come along and say that never again is in our hands, they're falling into the trap of the seculars. Seculars don't want to recognize this. They don't want to recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world. They want to be Jewish in flavor. And we have to realize if there's anti-Semitism in the world, there's a reason for it. Anti-Semitism, that you look in all the Meforshim, when was there anti-Semitism? Whenever the Jews forgot HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Whenever the Jews forgot HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In Europe, in the 1890s, at the time of the Chofetz Chaim, he was complaining about this all the way up until World War II. The Haskalah movement, the secular movement, the atheist movement, the Bundists, the leftists, the communists, all these Jewish communists, all these Jewish secularists, they were anti-religious. They made war with religion. And then there was anti-Semitism. And today, we also have the same phenomenon where there's a tremendous amount, I think it's, I checked that out a few years ago, and I think it's probably hasn't changed that much. 80% of Jews have basically vanished. They vanished.
Intermarried? What is he saying?
They've assimilated. Assimilated. They made the Pew report. This is a while ago. They did a Pew report, and they said only 20% of the Jewish world population has some sort of, they didn't give very high level for what's called Sabbath observance, Torah observance, but what they call Torah observance, whatever their low level standards are, it's at most 20%. Now that 20% is a very important number. What was the number of Jews that left Mitzrayim? Chamushim, 20%. It says that the same way that we left Mitzrayim, we're going to leave Golus. And just like only 20% got out of Mitzrayim, only 20% of the Yidden, I don't want to say it, but only 20% of the Yidden are going to get out of Golus. And that's about whoever is a frum Jew. Whoever is a frum Jew, he will be zoicha to get out of Golus. It's coming soon. And the rest of them, unfortunately, the assimilated Jews, and so many of them have turned atheists, and a lot of the pro-Palestinian college students are Jewish. And everybody says, well, I'm Jewish and I'm pro-Palestinian. That doesn't mean anything. It means that you're a traitor. That means you're a traitor. That's all it means. And we have plenty of traitors, you know? I don't want to mention names, I might get sued, if it's going on YouTube, but we have some people in Congress, Jews who claim to be for the Jewish people, and they're big traitors.
Well, the biggest guy in America is the most pro-Jewish.
Yeah.
We are going through a very interesting times now. I came across this petek. They put peteks up on the wall in the shul. They put peteks up on the wall in the shul, right? Niftach kav lechizuk hatzipiyah legula. We have to wait for the gula, right? You can call in and get chizik, and nevuas chazal on achris hayomim and agula. It's totally amazing, right? This is what's going through people's minds.
It's like a hotline?
Huh?
It's like a hotline?
It's got a hotline. You can get all the chizik. And I mentioned last time.
When you hear that Mashiach is David's servant.
I don't know. Yeah, whoever. But it's true. We have to believe it. We have to believe it. We say Ani Mamin B'Amuna Shlema. We say Ani Mamin B'Amuna Shlema. B'Bias HaMashiach. V'Afa Pisha Yismamea Achakalo B'Chol Yom Sheyavai. That's Rambam. This is the Rambam in his 12th of the principles of faith. Hayesod Hashnei So Yemos HaMashiach. You have to believe it. He's going to come. Now the Rambam makes a very this is something. The Rambam says a very, very strong statement. I'll say, Mishin estapku boy ozilzul beinyanoi. Anybody who doubts this or is mezalzel in the inyan of the Bias HaMashiach, he's machish haTorah shevticha boy v'feirish b'parshas Bilam, and also in Nitzavim, that the Mashiach is coming, the Goyal is coming. If you believe all the Yesodis, you have to go through the 13 principles, the 13 Yesodis of Amunah, 13 Animamins. Then you're Nichnas B'Klal Yisrael. If you're Mefakvek even in one of them, so if a person is Mefakvek in Bias HaMashiach,
Where do you translate Mefakvek means?
doubt. If a person doubts or causes, like, he creates a doubt. He hasn't come until now, and and the world is going, and what am I, what do you train me a cup for? Mefakvek means
I do 613 mitzvahs, I'm praying, I'm keeping Shabbos, I'm doing everything.
yeah, but I don't believe in Mashiach.
Okay.
I'm a good Jew, but I don't believe in Mashiach. Yeah? How is a yotzim in a klal? He yotzim in a klal, he calls him a kofar be'ikr. This is in the Torah. Bias HaMashiach is a pasuk in the Torah. He's called an amin, an apikairis, kaitzis benetiyah. These are very strong language of the Rambam.
Not holy, right?
Huh?
Shiloh.
I'm sorry?
On BS Shiloh.
Yeah. What? No, it's here. It says in Parshas Nitzavim, V'shav Hashem Elokecha eshvuscha v'richamcha v'shav v'kabetzcha mikol ha'amim. He's gonna bring us back. The gul is going to happen. It's a promise in the Chumash. It's a promise in the Chumash. It's a havtacha on the gul asid that Chafetz Chaim writes in Parshas Nitzavim, in Chafetz Chaim al Torah. It's a havtacha on the gula asida that's going to come Bekarov. The Chafetz Chaim, he writes several places, all over the place. He says with all the simonim, all the signs that the Chazal brought down, and all the Gemaras, we see today, and we see it even more now in our days. We have to be ready for it every day. They said the Chafetz Chaim had a suitcase already packed. When Mashiach comes, he's ready to run.
Rabbi, we don't need that.
We're here in Eretz Yisrael, right? He wasn't in Eretz Yisrael.
You have the big Shabbos?
Huh?
Special clothing? Look at this.
I'm not the Chafetz Chaim. Klal Yisrael, this is also the Chafetz Chaim. In a letter, he's got a Hisairis, L'tshuva. Klal Yisrael are maminim bebias HaMashiach. We say every day, Ani mamin be'amunah shlema bebias HaMashiach. It's mi'ikri Torah seinu. Then, what is going to happen when Mashiach comes? Yizgala kvoid Hashem ba'olam. And he brings the Rambam. Anybody who's not Maimon and Bias of Mashiach, he's called not only in the case of Daniel. Daniel said it's going to happen. Daniel says it's going to happen. He's kaifer in the Torah. The Torah says, Mefurish, Im yiyah nidchacha b'kasei hashemayim misham yikabetzcha Hashem elokecha misham yikochecha. Hashem, we're spread out all over the world, and Hashem did. We see the ingathering. It's so obvious to everybody. The ingathering. Everybody's coming to Eretz Yisrael from all over the world. They're coming back to Eretz Yisrael. Even though we don't know when this is going to happen, the Chafetz Chaim writes, and it's going to happen. The ingathering is going to happen before the Bias Mashiach. And we see that almost everything that was prophesied is happening b'yameinu. That's what the Chafetz Chaim writes. So last time we discussed about the Iran war. We had the Yalkut Shimoni. We discussed the Yalkut Shimoni. Amar Rav Yitzchak. The year, I'll repeat it again, the year that the Melech HaMashiach is going to be Nigla, Kol Malchi Umos HaOilim Izgarin Zeh B'Zeh. There are going to be wars, all the nations are going to be fighting each other. And that's exactly what we see today. United States against Iran, and everybody's taking sides. And there's wars besides, somebody mentioned also you have the war of Russia against Ukraine. Everybody's fighting each other. And we have specifically the Melech Poras, that's Iran, is Miskar b'Melech Aravi, and that's what he's doing. He's starting up with Saudi Arabia. They hate each other. In Iran, they're Shiites, and in Saudi Arabia, the Sunnis. So they hate each other, right? And so Aravi, Saudi Arabia, goes to take an Eitzah from. He goes to an Eitzah from Edom, right? And Choyzer then, Melech Poras is going to be Machav Kol HaOilam. And Kol Umas HaOilam Yisrashim, everybody is going to be in a big, it's a tumult, people are not going to know what to do. They're going to be fear all over the place. And Yisrael is going to be Misrashim, and there's going to be a tremendous fear in Eretz Yisrael. Among all the Jews. Kosh Baruch has to say, Bonai, don't be afraid. Everything I'm doing, whatever, this is what we have to recognize. This is not a accident. This is not just a mikra. This is not just a happening. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing all the things that are happening in the world. Kosh Baruch Hu is doing it. He's doing us because he wants to bring the Mashiach. What do you mean he wants to bring the Mashiach? So it's been pointed out, the Navi Yechezkel in Perek Lamed Ches talks about Melchemes Gog u'Magog. This is the final war. Now, in the title of this shmooze, I said the last wars, plural, because it's mashma from the Medrash and the Zohar. It's mashma from the Medrash and the Zohar that there's going to be 3 wars. First of all, the Chafetz Chaim talked about the three world wars. That's right after the First World War. He didn't know about the Second World War, and especially the Third World War. And he prophesied there's going to be a Second World War, and there's going to be a Third World War. So we know that the Chafetz Chaim knew there are going to be 3 wars. Now, whether that's the 3 wars that the Zohar was talking about, I don't know. But he had some sort of hotline to Shemayim to know that there's going to be 3 wars. The Zohar says there's going to be 3 wars. It's mashma is going to be 3 different wars. They're yet to come. We have Melchemes Gog u'Magog. We don't know who Gog u'Magog is. Gog is the melech over the land of Magog. Who is Gog and who is Magog? We don't know. Whether he's Arab or whether he's European, I don't know. I don't know. They're different. Look in the Meforshim, everybody, and one thing is for sure is what the Rambam says at the end in Hilchos Mashiach. He's got a whole section in Hilchos Mashiach. The Rambam writes, we won't know exactly how it's going to happen until it happens. We won't know exactly, but today we're beginning to see how it's taking shape. He is the Melech Roish Meshech V'Tuvo V'Novi Olav. And I say, Ko Amar Hashem Hinei Alecha Gog. Gog, you're the head, the Nasi of Rosh Melech Meshech V'Tuval. V'Shovavtich, I'm going to make you wild. V'Rasati Chachim B'Lechalchayach, I'll put hooks in your cheeks. And I'm going to drag you and your whole army and all your susim and all your tanks and all your armory, levushe and all the whole army who's wearing armor. Kulam, Kal Rav Sina, I'm going to grab you and I'm going to drag you into a war. And then he brings V'kol Goymer. Then he says Pras, Kush, Put. That's the Arab side. Goymer Kol Apera based to Garmo. That's the European side. Sofon v'es Kol Agafov. Yomam Rabim Mikubetzes Me'amim Rabim Al Hari Yisrael. He's going to drag them all into a war. Whether Gog is Trump and he's being dragged into a war, he doesn't want it. It's bad for the elections. The American people don't want a war. They're very isolationists. They said, leave us out. Don't drag us into Israel's war. That's what that's the latest. Don't drag us into Israel's war. Israel dragged Trump into the war. But Trump is being dragged into the war because he understood very, very clearly that if Iran gets a nuclear bomb, it's the end of Western civilization because they'll use it. So he was dragged into a war. Iran, the whole country was destroyed. The whole economy is in shambles. There's no economy. They were bombed, the living daylights out of them. They should cry uncle. They should come they should say, okay, we'll talk. And what are they saying? We haven't shown you the best of what we have in store. We have a secret weapon. That's what they're saying now. They won't give in. Where did we see such akshonis, such how do you say akshonis? Abstinence. Where do we see such abstinence? Paro. Paro's whole country was destroyed. All the crops were destroyed. All the animals were destroyed. The houses were destroyed. The people were fed up. They were hungry. They saw that they were up against a force that they couldn't handle. All of nature was rising up against them, and Paro until the last minute didn't give in. Because Baruch Hu hardened his heart, but that's what happened. He wouldn't give in. And the Ayatollahs, whoever it is who's running Iran, they won't give in. And they'll go back again and back again and back again. And it's like a Kodesh Baruch Hu is pulling them. Whether they're Gog or whether Trump's Gog, but a Kodesh Baruch Hu is pulling both sides into a war. And it's going to happen. That's the mashmoyas, and we see that Biata ben Adam, Hinovi al Gog, in Lametes, Ko Amar Hashem, Hinei Elecha Gog, V'shovavtich v'sasachtich, I'll play games with you, and I'll velisicho miyaksei sofa, and I'll bring you from the north, and I'll bring you to Hari Yisroel, v'yekisi kashtecha, and then he's going to let them have it. There's going to be a war in Eretz Yisrael.
There is a war.
No, we haven't seen anything. It's right now. It's in Iran. I mean, they're bombing us. That's true. So why do I say milchamos in the title of the? I said the wars. So there's a Zohar, a famous Zohar in Parshas Va'era. The Zohar in Parshas Va'era. Asidin b'nei Yisrael la'oirel milchamos gedolos ba'olam. So in the Zohar, now you have to realize something. You have to realize the impact, the import of this statement. When was the Zohar written? Shimon Bar Yochai. Shimon Bar Yochai was after the destruction of the temple. Shimon Bar Yochai was a Talmud of Rabbi Akiva, so that puts him a good 150 years after the Churban, or 100 years after the Churban. Right? There was no Arab country. Muhammad did not come onto the picture until the year 630 approximately. I think, if I'm correct. Huh?
622.
622.
You're one of the Hajj.
The year 620. So the year 620 is when Muhammad came on the scene and he started making a confederation of all the Arab countries. And now we have today all the Arab countries, they're all brothers in arms. And he conquered all the whole region over here is conquered by one form of Arabs or another form, whether Sunnis or Shiites, whatever, but that's Yishmael. There was no Yishmael. Yishmael were nomads. Yishmael were Bedouin. They were just, some wandering tribes. That's who Yishmael was at the time of Shimon Bar Yochai. Arabs. The word Arabs is in the Gemara. Aravim. Rashi says Aravim. Asidim b'nei Yishmael. So Shimon Bar Yochai says b'nei Yishmael are going to be ma'orim milchamas gedolos ba'olam. How did he see that Yishmael had a power to create a world war, world wars, milchamas gedolos, world wars? He saw it. This is the greatness of Shimon Bar Yochai. And all of Europe, B'nai Edom, Europe is Edom, and America is a branch of Edom. So America, the Western civilization, is going to come. So Arabs are going to wage war against Western civilization. Western civilization, the Westerners, the Europeans, and the Americans are going to gather together against them, and they'll make milchama. How many? 3 milchamas. Achas al-Yam. What are we seeing now? The Straits of Hormuz, a war on the water. Achas al-Yabasha. There's going to be a land battle. And Achas samach l'Yushalayim. And then afterwards, after this is all done, it's going to continue until they get close to Yerushalayim. It doesn't say in Yerushalayim, close to Yerushalayim. I don't know, because if you look in Zechariah, I think we say it on Sukkot, and it's very terrible. It's mashma that they conquer large pieces of Yerushalayim. It's not clear. You have to learn the prophecy, the Haftarah in, I think it's Chol Hamoed Sukkot, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, that's not our topic now. But this has all been prophesized. And Achas Somach Yerushalayim v'yishlatu elu al elu. Sometimes they're going to be on top. Sometimes they're going to be on top. V'eretz kadosh lo timos livnei Edom. But Edom is going to try to take control over Eretz Yisrael, and it's not going to be given over to them. Bios Zman. Now listen to this one. Everybody goes crazy over this, trying to figure this one out. What does Shimon Bar Yochai mean by this next statement? Bios Zman yis'orer Am echad misoif ha'olam. From the far edges of the world, a nation is going to arise against Romi, Russia, against the Western civilization. V'yasa aleha milchama shloisha chadashim, a 3-month war. Who is this Am echad misoif ha'olam?
China.
China. According to what we see, That's what the Rambam says. When it gets close to the Bias Mashiach, all of a sudden these things are going to be clear to us. China is sending arms to Iran, and China has told America, stay out. Otherwise, we're helping Iran, and they are helping Iran. And if and America's going to try to stop China. China's also needs to have the shipping in Hormuz open, and they're going to create a international incident because there's going to be a Chinese vessel trying to break the blockade. Watch, right? And then there'll be an international incident, and then it's going to be La Yehudim. China is going to be dragged into the war according to the Zohar. If we are Am Echad Misoif Olam, who else could it be?
Wait, what's the lashon of that?
Am Echad Misoif Olam is going to be rise against Romi Harishav Yasol Milchama Shloisha Chadoshim.
Meaning not with Paras.
Against Edom.
Against that, meaning no involvement with Paras at all.
L'chair. According to, I'm just reading what it says. It says over here, according to, right, the Gemara and the scriptures, the hidden scriptures. This is the Zohar. I don't know. And people say, stay out of it. Don't get so involved. But we're seeing things happening today. V'yayosvu sham amim v'yiplu b'yadehem. Everybody's going to come and they're going to fall into their hands until Bnei Edom gathers from all over the world against this Am Echad Misoif Ha'olam, and there's going to be a giant battle, and it's going to be, whether it's going to be in Eretz Yisrael or not, it doesn't say. And then Yisrael Aleim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's Zevach L'Hashem B'Botzra, and that's the pasuk Zevach Hashem B'Botzra in the Nevi'im. Where's Botzra? So I saw in an old sefer. There's an old sefer. There's an old Batzra. There's an old sefer. There's an old sefer written by a Talmud of the Beis Yosef. His name Shmuel Laniado. He learned when he was young. He learned by the Beis Yosef, and then he went to Halab. So he went up to. He went up to Halab. He became the Rav Roshi of Halab, Syrian Jews, and he writes that Botzra is near Hormuz. That's what he writes. Botzra is near Hormuz, and I looked it on the internet, and I found a Yemenite Rav, a Rav from Yemenite from about 300 years ago. And he says that the near the Straits of Hormuz there's a city, an area. It's called Botzra. Botzra.
I saw an article. Hormuz is the name of a Jew.
Whatever says.
No, it's
Whatever he created taxes from all the ships that go through. His name was Hormuz.
They say it's the name of a Persian. Name of a Persian god. It's the name of a Persian god. The Persians.
הוא אומר בסוף, בכל הסיפור הזה המצאתי הרגע
What's it?
Pesach is unfair.
There's.
The video doesn't get the Hebrew.
No.
1 second.
It was a video that it was a Jew and his name was Hormuz. And the end of the video, you saw part of it. The guy says, and I just made up the story.
No, but what is true? So this Shmuel Laniado. Wait, let me finish. I'm running out of time. The Shmuel Laniado, he says that the word Hormuz, he talks about Hormuz is near Botzra, and Hormuz, the Persians are Zoroastrians. The Persians, they believe in the God of good and the God of evil.
There is two Batzra. There is one in Jordan and there is one in Iraq. The one from the Tanakh is in Jordan, not in Iraq.
So that's close to the Straits. That's whatever. Okay, that's so that's Dr. Google. That's Dr. Google's tape. I'm telling you what this Shmuel Laniado. He's a Talmud of the Beis Yosef, and he says that Botzra is an area near the Straits of Hormuz, and Hormuz is named after one of the gods of the Persians, the Zoroastrians. I forget the exact name. You look it up.
Ahura Mazda.
Yeah, something like that. You look it up in Wikipedia. It's a Persian name, Hormuz, but it's the god of good. It's the god of good. That's, right? That's right. So that's money, right? That's where they get the taxes. So what are we supposed to get from all this? We get from this. There was this. I told you over the Maisa that this nevuah, I'll call it a nevuah of the Chafetz Chaim. There's going to be 3 wars. It was right after. I'll repeat myself for the audience that it was after World War I. It was around the year 1931, probably 1930. It was after World War I, and the Chafetz Chaim, he told Rabbi Chanan, and that's how everybody heard about it, and this has been verified by Rabbi Elio Lapian, and also by the Rabbi Aaron Kotler. They heard the story from Rabbi Chanan that there's going to be. We just had they just had a great war, and 12 million people died. And then the Chafetz Chaim says 12 million? 12 million is Kinderspiel. It's a game, it's child's play compared to what's going to happen in 10 years. That's what he said in 1931. And he was on target. 10 years. 10 years. He says it's Kinderspiel compared to what's going to happen in 10 years. This is what the Chafetz Chaim said. And then he says there's going to be a hefsek, there's going to be this terrible war. And then after that, there's going to be a hefsek. He didn't say how long. Some people say 70, but I didn't see that in the way Rabbi Elio Lapian quoted it. There's going to be a hefsek, and then there's going to be the Third World War. That's what the Chafetz Chaim prophesied. So Shalom Shvadron heard Chatzkel Levenstein say this over at a shmooze, and he had to gather his koiches to ask from Chatzkel, Rebbe, why do you have to tell me these disturbing things? Right? We should daven that this thing should be abolished. It shouldn't happen. Why we have to understand this? So the Mashgiach said, you don't understand. The Chafetz Chaim wasn't talking about a real war. He was talking about a war of Emunah. I beg to differ with Rav Chatzkel. I think he's talking about a real war, but he's also talking about a war of Emunah. Because if you look at what's going on today, it's a war of Emunah. The whole world has gone crazy. The whole world has gone meshuga. They're fighting religion, and the whole world is in a battle against religion. It's the atheists, which is the whole world, against the religious people. Even in America, right? There's the battles right and left. You know, you're not allowed to mention religion. Why can't I mention religion? These are worldwide battles. The whole world has gone meshuga about ethics and morals. Everything is breaking down. That's true. And it's also going to be a nisoyon, a test of our emunah, because it's going to be very frightening living here in Eretz Yisrael with all these wars. In America, they were far away from the wars. I come from America. You know, we were far away from all the wars. The wars were always over there. There hasn't been a war since the American Civil War. There hasn't been a war on American soil, and everything's always been very, very, very far away. Here we are in Eretz Yisrael, and there's going to be a world war, and we're petrified of the possibilities. If it's Chas v'Sholom, if they get a hold of a nuclear bomb, you know, Chas v'Sholom. We don't even want to think about it. So what's the Eitzah? So one thing we have to know, we have to realize that it's up to us. It's up to our emunah. How do I know? Because there's a Gemara in Sanhedrin Sari Ches Amud Aleph, and it has the famous line. It says in one pasuk, "Be'ito achishena." Well, is the be'ito means it's in its time, or achishena? I'm going to hurry it up. It says if the Klal Yisrael are zoiche, so then the gula will happen achishena. If they are not zoiche, it's going to be be'ito. There has to be a final time. It could have happened. Rabbi Akiva thought that Bar Kochba was the Mashiach. It could have been at Rabbi Akiva's time, but it wasn't. It could have been any of those times, any time since then, but it wasn't. But towards the end of the 6,000 years, and we're approaching the end of the 6,000 years, there's got to be be'ita, and Kadosh Baruch Hu has to leave over some time for Yemoisa Mashiach before he brings Techiyas HaMesim. So we need a certain amount of time. I don't know how many years it's going to need for Yemoisa Mashiach, and we're getting close to the end of the 6,000. So that's going to be be'ito. There's a case. There are two. The Ramchal says there are two patterns of a Kodesh Baruch Hu's hanhoga in running the world. There's the pattern, the talich of mishpat. This is schar va'einish. Depending on how good you are, you get schar, and if you're not good, you get einish. Schar va'einish has been running the world for the past 6,000 years. But in conjunction with that, there's the hanhoga of Yichud Hashem. This is the Ramchal. There's Yichud Hashem that Kodesh Baruch Hu has to bring to the final recognition. Everybody's in the end, when Mashiach will come, everybody's going to recognize. This is the prophecy of Yechezkel and of Yirmiyah, that in the end, everybody's going to recognize the Kodesh Baruch Hu, even the Goyim. We have on Chol Hamoed Sukkos, we read the Zechariah, and it says that everybody's going to come up to Yerushalayim. All the Goyim are going to come up to celebrate the Chag HaSukkos. All the Goyim, they're going to recognize Chag HaSukkos. Why Chag HaSukkos? You have to look over there. But everybody's going to recognize Kodesh Baruch Hu. So that's the Yichud Hashem. That's the purpose of the creation, is that everybody should recognize Hashem. So it has to happen either be'ito or achishena. So there's a famous in Bolak. This is what the Chafetz Chaim says. It's in the Torah, in Nitzavim and in Bolak. And in Bolak he says, Areno v'lo ato, ashureno v'lo korov. I see it. It's not right now. Ashureno v'lo korov. It's going to be. Could be it's soon. Ashur lo ato, but it's soon. Oh, but it's lo korov. It's very, very far away. Dorish koichav Yaakov, v'kom shevet mi Yisrael, and that's going to be the coming of the Mashiach. V'karka kol b'nei sheis, and all of the goyim, the b'nei sheis, they're going to be karka. The Unkla says Mashiach is going to come from Yisrael. V'yiktel rav revei Moav, is going to kill all the generals of Moab. Sounds like Jordan. Moab is the Arab states. V'yishlot b'chol b'nei anoshim, he's going to be shoylate on the whole world. So what is this? It's going to be either be'ito or achisheno. What is this? The gul is going to come in a shemayim. If it comes achishena, if we are zoicha, if the Klal Yisrael are tzaddikim, then it's going to be achishena, and it's going to come in a shemayim, and it's going to come b'neis niflo. We're going to see miracles like we saw at the time of Yetzias Mitzrayim, where Kodesh Baruch Hu is going to turn the whole world, inside out with nisim, mufla. The word mufla means pella. And that's pretty good. We're so ingrained in ourselves science fiction. We understand everything through science. So he's going to have to do nisim that even we're going to have to recognize that these are nisim, and there's no scientific, explanation for it. However, if we're not on that madrega, and it's be'ito, then it's going to come b'derech hateva. It's not going to come with all these nisim. And this is what we see happening today. He didn't do the ingathering, the kapsenim in a goyim. He didn't do the ingathering of all the Yidden into Eretz Yisrael by Nisim. What did he do? He got a band of atheists, and they created a Medina. They created a state. The state of Israel is run by atheists, and they have the ingathering of the exiles. It's all derech hateva. It's natural, a natural ingathering, and the war is going to be natural, and therefore, what we have to we're not zeicha to achishena. What are we going to have? We're zeicha to be'ito. So who's going to be in the schus of what? Is the Gula Asida going to come? So he says, Yovo bipas kat hatzadikim shebehem. It's up to the kat of the tzadikim. In other words, it's up to us. We have to strengthen ourselves in Amunah, and according to our Amunah, is going to be the strength of how much we're zeicha, and how much we're going to be zeicha to the Bias HaMashiach coming, and for us to all see it. I just have to end off this famous statement. Roy Neuberger misquoted. He says with the Chafetz Chaim, and it's not the Chafetz Chaim. It's the Rabbi Elimelech, the brother of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. So he asked his grandfather. He heard from his grandfather, and his grandfather heard from when he was very young. He heard from a very old person who ran the oven, the heating oven of the shul in Yerushalayim, who had been in Lezhinsk, and he went to the Shalosh Shudas of Rabbi Elimelech, and Rabbi Elimelech gave drushes, and in one drusha he says, and this is also one of the Nevi'im of Zechariah and Yirmiyahu. Kodesh Baruch Hu is going to take the whole world and start shaking it like a sifter. It's a sift. When you sift flour, you shake it, and everything's going to be thrown around. This is the great birur. This is the final selection of who's got emunah, and everything's going to be thrown around. It's going to be a sifter. The whole world is going to be shaken up. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to throw a rope from one end of the world to the other end of the world. And this rope is going to be Amunah. This rope is going to be Amunah, that's what he says. And all the Yidden have to hold on. And there are going to be people who says, I can't hold on anymore. It's going to be so difficult. This is what Rechatzkel meant, that it's going to be a Nesoyan of Amunah. It's very nice, we daven for the Mashiach. And we know what's going to happen. Umevi goyel l'vnei v'neiim l'man shmoi bi'avo. We daven every day. Umevi goyel. It's going to happen. The Gula is going to happen. We have to believe in it, and we have to believe in the Kodesh Baruch Hu is going to make it happen. So when things are going to be getting rough, if it happens, if they start again in another 2 days, and I'm not a Novi, I don't know if it's going to happen or not happen, but we have to hold on tight. There's a rope from one end of the world to the other, and the rope is Amunah in a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and everybody has to hold on, and it's going to be shaking, and people are going to say, I can't hold on anymore. And Rabbi Elimelech says, hold on, and anybody who holds on will be zoicha to see Bias HaMashiach b'mheira b'yameinu.
Rabbi, this is the safest place to be in the world?
Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah.
Safest place is Eretz Yisrael.
Yerushalayim, or it doesn't matter? No knock in where in Eretz, as long as they're in Eretz.
I'm assuming, Scheinberg said Yerushalayim.
Personal question.
The closer you get